So this is Power Up Your Personal Brand. I am so excited to talk to you about this today. And I want to remind everyone, this is a 2-day masterclass. So there's today at noon and then again tomorrow at noon. Replays will be sent out for both days. But the reason why I've split them up into 2 days is because for me, the personal brand is about the two separate pieces, right? It's who you are and how you're connecting with your audience. So for today, we're going to spend a lot of time exploring who you are and how you're showing up in your personal brand. Tomorrow, we're going to do a much deeper dive into audience psychology, everything that I learned from working in television and building my own brand to help you make better creative choices in your personal brand. Because really, that is what the personal brand is all about. So I'm Tara McEwen. If you're not aware, I'm an award-winning television producer, media consultant, and founder of McEwen Media. I've developed countless media training programs to help people execute on their personal brand. I keep saying the hardest part about a personal brand is being the person in the brand. You can say whatever you want to about an eyelash curler, and it will still perform the duties of an eyelash curler. But if you say something negative or there's something unexpected about a personal brand, now you've got hurt feelings, you've got limiting beliefs, you've got all those things to overcome in executing the personal brand. So in short, at McEwen Media, we build confidence in your personal brand. So let's begin with just sharing in the chat, why are you here today? So a couple of you have already written to me with certain questions. So I know that there are some key things, there are people who are deciding like, do I call my business this or do I call my business that? Calling your business this or that is actually not a bad idea. There are many of you too who are looking for clarity on your business story or on your personal brand story. Like I have something to share, but I don't know where to begin. I'm not sure what direction to take it in. An overwhelming number of you are here because you're just no longer seeing results, right? You're launching something, it's not buying, people aren't buying it as much as they used to. It just feels harder to connect with people, to gain traction. So those are all things and all reasons why you've expressed to me already why you're here. So if any of those reasons are why you're here, let's begin then with this idea that there's somehow like a right or a wrong way to execute and deliver on your personal brand. So here is what you're not going to get over the next 2 days. I'm not going to tell you what to call your business, nor am I going to give you a so-called foolproof structure or
Tara
framework.
McEwen. She's an award-winning television.
Thank you. Thank you for paying attention. Sorry. So there's no right or wrong. So I'm not going to tell you what to name your business, and I'm not going to tell you what direction to take your story in. When you approach personal branding with this idea that there's a right or a wrong way to do it, you're already setting yourself up for hardship. You're already making the creative process challenging for yourself. The difference between a personal brand and any other business is the person inside the brand. Whether you realize it or not, the business you are looking to build, the brand you are looking to build and be the spokesperson for, is a full and deep expression of who you are and the statement that you want to make and the difference that you want to make in the world. That is the difference. That's actually what you're struggling with and what you're looking to express. It's every single person on this call, it's so much easier to do what you do for someone else, right? It's easier to have a job than it is to build a business. But the reason why you're committed to entrepreneurship and building a business is because the thing you want to do, the thing that you want to express doesn't exist. So you have to make it. So what you're going to learn over these next 2 days is more creative mindset, how to then position yourself to make aligned decisions. It's not about right or wrong. It's not about figuring out a formula or A/B testing. It's about making aligned decisions and taking actions that are right for you. So today we're going to spend a lot of time about you being the person in your brand, what you're bringing to the table. I'm going to explore and share some insider information, some behind the scenes stuff of the biggest brand that I worked on, which was the Marilyn Denis Show and Marilyn Denis herself. Everything that I learned from working with her and working on that show informs how I build my brand and coach other businesses to execute on their brands as well. And there are 2 exercises that we'll do to help bring you in alignment with what it is that you want to express. We're going to do a skills assessment, and then we're going to talk about the audience agreement. So between today and tomorrow, Tristan, if you can share in the chat there, I'm going to share with you a Google document. So the skills assessment and the audience agreement, we'll touch on it a little bit. I'll give you some high level understanding of how these things work. I encourage you to continue working on these things as part of the home play between today and tomorrow. I know one of you on the call, you're watching actually with a group of people as part of a mastermind. Like, do this as your mastermind throughout the day, because the thing about creativity and storytelling, if you stay siloed, right? If you stay just working and trying to figure out and force out the story on your own, you're also setting yourself up for hardship, for unnecessary hardship. Creative collaboration is how brands build and evolve and grow. The story that you want to tell, it's clear in your mind, but making it clear to another person is the hard part. So find trusted sources, build a group and start working on these things with other people, and just give feedback on how it sounds to be, how this information sounds. This is actually how you're going to get even further insight into this personal story that you want to share. So let's then be real. Like, the reason why we feel like there's something going wrong, or why the stakes are really high with our personal brand, is because business just feels really hard right now. Here's why. Your personal brand has to do the heavy lifting against 3 separate recessions right now. The first is an economic recession. So whether or not we're technically in a recession, I know that there are some actual, checks and balances and certain numbers that economists need to see in order to declare an official recession. For anyone who's worked in marketing and PR, we know there's been a marketing recession for at least a year. When businesses have to cut back, when businesses are facing a hardship, the first budget they cut is marketing and PR. So I've been feeling this crunch for a while. But for businesses and households across the board, we've been experiencing multiple years of high living costs and high borrowing costs. So there just simply isn't money moving around the way that it was a couple of years ago. People are taking longer to make decisions. They're putting off investments, both households and businesses. So your sales journey, the work that your personal brand is really needing to do, you have to do it for a lot longer, right? It's not a one and done. It's long timelines. It's a long commitment. The reason why you need to power up your personal brand is because it's a marathon, not a sprint. We're talking about, something that you can execute over a long period of time and in multiple different ways. Your personal brand has to do a lot more work today than it did 3 or 4 years ago. We're also in a trust recession. So this is especially true for online businesses and especially coaches. So for the past 5 or 6 years, there have been a lot of businesses online making the same promises. So consumers, they're feeling exhausted hearing the same promises again and again and again. And in many cases, there are a lot of these online businesses that are over-promising and under-delivering. So not only are consumers hearing the same promises, but they're getting disappointed when they're actually investing in other bad actors. And then there's just the fake business or the fake appearance that a business is in existence. So this was actually the first experience that I had in considering and thinking about hiring a coach to help me figure this out. So 5 years ago was when I decided to go into business for myself, and I had no idea how to do this. So of course, when you start Googling, how do I build an online business? The ad algorithm delivers you all kinds of information. So I had signed up for an online course, a webinar similar to this one, where it was free information, where they would walk us through how to create an online course and market it for the passive income, right? That promise is still being made all over the place. Put your specialized knowledge into an online course and the money will just come through. So I signed up for this workshop and this webinar and was interested in what the person was saying. It was sold to me as a live webinar. But I knew right away when she asked, oh, yeah, put in the chat where you're calling from. And when she started talking about cities that I wasn't seeing in the chat, I knew, oh, okay, the chat is live, but this recording is fake. Okay, this recording is past. So fair enough. That's how they decided to define live, no problem. And then, of course, in the days afterwards, I get the automated emails, more information about their program. This is why I should join. I read these for about a week as I was making my decision, as they do. That's why we have these automated emails after an event. And I was just on the brink of deciding that this, in fact, is a great course for me. This, in fact, is the direction for my business. And I now trust this person enough to sign up for her course. I'm looking forward to learning from her. The day I made that decision, I got another email from this company alerting me to the fact that the woman who had hosted the Live Not Live webinar and who had signed her name into all the emails that I was getting that week about her course and her program had passed away of cervical cancer that week. I'm like, what? So, and they apologized. They were going to refund anyone who had signed up for the course. That was my first experience in this digital online space. And I thought, hang on a second, is this what it means to run a digital company? That this automation and this webinar stuff, I can experience it like this person is in real life. I'm going to learn from her. I'm invested in learning from her. Meanwhile, in reality, she's in hospice care the entire time. I was blown away. This stuff happens all the time in digital marketing. And AI technology is making it easier for companies to just be legitimate fake businesses. Legitimate fake business is an oxymoron, I realize. But these fake businesses and these fake appearing brands are doing all the same marketing that you're trying to do with your personal brand. All of this is feeding into the trust recession. It is really hard for consumers right now to trust the people who are reaching out that they are in fact a real person. Your personal brand, when done well, and if you follow the advice of these next 2 days, can help you combat the trust recession. And then, of course, there's the attention recession. The attention recession is something that I've been dealing with as a media professional for 20 years. Audience attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And especially with the volume of media that we're consuming and the preference for short form media, our attention spans are getting shorter, which also means our ability to retain and remember information is getting shorter. So now your personal brand has to make a strong impression in a short period of time, and it has to be memorable. All of these things working together. Now, I say this not to intimidate you or not to inspire you to finally quit and go get a job. All of these things, this is what your personal brand is fighting against. This is why a consistent, persistent, regular output is how your brand gets stronger. It is the constant daily presentation. You are yourself 24/7. So the more your brand is a reflection of who you are in this moment in time, the easier it will be to promote and share and be your brand 24 hours a day. This doesn't mean that you're on 24 hours a day, and it certainly doesn't mean that you're selling 24 hours a day. But it means that anytime that an opportunity shows up and you're able to promote and connect with someone on your business, it is easy for you to shift into brand zone. This is why a formulaic structure, right, a templated personal brand is not going to work, because I'm forcing you to then wear an ill-fitting suit. This is where figuring out who you are and what this public persona is going to help you create a consistent and sustainable brand presence. You delivering, you executing your personal brand is the key to its success. So how do we start doing this? How do we start building confidence in your brand? So I'm going to stop sharing, because now it's time for story time with Tara McEwen here. I'm going to pin myself. There we go. So the reason why I'm able to call myself an award-winning producer is because I spent 11 seasons working on the Marilyn Denis Show. Now, in case you're not familiar, the Marilyn Denis Show was a long-running, award-winning, hugely popular TV talk show that aired between 2010 and 2023. It aired for 13 seasons. I worked on the show from 2010 to 2021, so the first 11 seasons. I was part of the team that launched it, and I was part of the team that ushered it through that award-winning, ratings bonanza, hugely successful run. The ironic thing is, we were almost canceled after the first season. So when the show was first announced in 2009, everyone in the industry thought, well, this is a surefire hit. Marilyn Denis herself had just completed a successful 30-year hosting gig on a show called Cityline, which is itself a daily lifestyle talk show. So we had an established host, an experienced personality, and a built-in audience. As soon as it was announced that Marilyn Denis was returning to TV, the audiences, they were so excited. We were just flooded with information. Oh, we're so excited. We can't wait to see you back on TV again. This is the best thing ever. So it was a slam dunk. Like, what could possibly go wrong? On top of that, so CTV was the network that created the Marilyn Denis Show. CTV is the number one network in Canada. So there are a lot of smart people who know a lot about television and who make really good, solid strategic decisions when it comes to acquiring and developing television. So the top TV minds in the industry put together the formula and the format that we would follow in launching the show. So we had an established expert or host. We had a legacy brand, a built-in audience, and the best television minds looking out into the world and seeing, well, what kind of format can we put together? And they put together a formula that was and continues to be like the go-to moves that every popular talk show does. Our show started with a monologue, and then we would have a celebrity interview, and then we would wrap up the show with some lifestyle segments, because that's what Marilyn is known for, and that's what the daytime audience expects. So we thought, this formula is foolproof. Like, we're just going to sit back and the ratings are going to come in and the awards are going to come in, and we're the best at making television. Our ratings tanked. They started off weak and they just got weaker. And that was when we almost got canceled after that first season. The shows never came together. And the overwhelming response from audiences who just a couple months earlier were so excited to see Marilyn back on TV gave us the overwhelming feedback. Marilyn, we're thrilled to see you back on TV, but not like this. They did not appreciate the format at all. That was the hardest creative year for me ever, because we had no idea that it would mess up so badly. We didn't know what we were doing wrong. We kept looking out and we're like, well, every other show has a successful monologue. Every other show has celebrity interviews. Like, why is this not coming together? The research and just everything on paper, it should have come together, but it didn't. So creating in that space of it should have worked, but it's not, so something is wrong, that was a really, really hard space to create in. So they gave us basically 2 months off. By some miracle, the network gave us a second season. I think the main reason why they gave us a second season was because even the network was embarrassed that they had messed up a legacy brand so badly. Like, no one wanted to be attached to that first season. So here is how we rebuilt and redirected the show for season 2. The shift happened when we threw out the research. So there was nothing intrinsically wrong with the research, right? If you still look at talk shows today, they still follow that same formula, right? They start with a monologue, there's celebrity interviews, and then there's fun stuff at the end. There's nothing wrong with that formula. It just wasn't the right fit for us. The answer lay in the feedback we were getting from our audience. We love you, Marilyn. We don't love this format. So we just thought, okay, what is the best thing that we have to offer the audience? The best thing we had to offer the audience was Marilyn Denis. Marilyn Denis hosted a show for 30 years. When people wanted to see Marilyn on TV again, they wanted to see her in that setting. They knew to expect her in that space. And then when we looked even further about how our host, the best part that we had to offer, how it was misaligned with the format, then the format just started to fall apart, right? Like, of course, the monologue never worked. If you look at what it takes to make a successful monologue, all the talk shows that begin with a monologue are hosted by professional stand-up comedians. Stand-up comedy is a very specific performance and communication device. Stand-up comics spend decades developing their comedic timing and style. Marilyn is not a stand-up comic, so we were set up to fail in that already. There was even a period where we hired a stand-up comic or a comedy writer even to come in and consult, but even he was still figuring out his comedic timing. So we didn't have the pieces to put together to create a solid monologue. So what worked for other shows because they were staffed for success. Our shining jewel did not lend itself for a monologue. And I mean, the celebrity interviews pieces, that was never going to come together. Like there just aren't, we don't have enough celebrities coming to Toronto to promote stuff to actually make that be a key piece of your daily lifestyle show. So once we realized that the best thing that we have to offer is Marilyn Denis, we just started building the show based on what she has to deliver and what she has to offer. So then we look closer at, well, why did the CityLine format, why did that formula work so well? And why was she so good at delivering in that space? Because if you remember, like the CityLine formula, it doesn't compare. Like there's nothing else happening in the marketplace that there. This is where I first realized the power of an aligned vision and message in building the brand. So let's think about the Marilyn Denis brand to begin with. With CityLine, Marilyn was not the first host of that show. The first host was a woman named Deanie Petty. But Marilyn first encountered the show CityLine when she was on mat leave with her son, Adam. So as a young mom, trying to figure out, how do I raise this baby? How do I run this household? And how do I make all of this easy because I'm going back to work after a year? That was the connection that she had to the content as a viewer. And for 30 years hosting CityLine, and then for the 13 years that we created the Marilyn Denis Show, it was that core memory of what it was like for Marilyn to be on mat leave, figuring out, how do I raise this baby? How do I run this household? And how do I be a contributing member of society? That core memory informed every creative decision that went into CityLine, and then every creative decision that went into the Marilyn Denis Show. The research did not send us down the right direction, but that alignment of who Marilyn wants to be in that TV space, that core memory of how she was served and how she can now pay that back and serve others in that way, that is the core alignment that built her legacy brand, that launched 2 very successful TV shows. And like she's in the hall of the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, all because she just brings it back to that core of what it was like to receive that message, that material, the impact that it had on her, and now she's paying it forward. So this is the power of turning inwards, ignoring what everyone else is doing, ignoring what's happening in the market. It's not about following trends. It's about turning inward. What am I being called to share? And what is the best way for me to share it? So this is where I want to do the first of some writing exercises. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to go through. So this is the first exercise, the skills assessment. So I actually want to begin with the skills assessment first, because executing your personal brand is about figuring out your best communication style. So I think a lot of people, when they approach their personal brand, they think of digital media alone, right? They think of social media, they think of the website, they think of that digital presence. For me, the personal brand is things like this. It's when I go to networking events. It's anytime I'm out in public or I'm talking to other people about the business, that is me representing my personal brand. Excuse me. So there are many communication skills. If you're not good at video, that's okay. You communicate with people, right? You're in conversation with people. So take a couple of minutes and just kind of go through these 3 questions. What am I good at? Good meaning quality, right? I can deliver a quality product with this. And there might be many things that you're good at in terms of storytelling, in terms of communication. The next piece, what do I find easy? Easy is key here, because remember, your personal brand is butting up against 3 separate recessions. So if it's a communication style that you find easy, you are more likely to take action on it. You're more likely to build a daily habit around it. If it's hard, you're not going to stick with it. So start with the things you're good at. Start with what you find is easy. This is how we started rebuilding the Marilyn Denis Show, right? What is the best thing that we have to offer to the audience? And how can we make it easy? Really, the only thing that we stole from the CityLine format was their programming. Monday was home show, Tuesday was parenting, Wednesday was health, Thursday was decor, Friday was fashion. That made it easy for us to make creative decisions. So start here. What am I good at? What do I find easy? And the third question, what valuable skills am I willing to learn? Valuable is the key part here, because when it comes to building your brand, you do actually want to push the limits of what you're capable of. It does require a bit of learning and refining, but valuable in the sense that you know that learning this skill is going to grow your business and grow your brand. It has to have a return on investment. So when I started building my personal brand, I intuitively went through this exercise. So the ironic thing with me being a media coach, I am not was not naturally comfortable in front of the camera. So because I spent so many years behind the camera, being in front of the camera, being the spokesperson for my business, that was something that I had to learn and invest in. But it was valuable to me because I knew that I was helping people who were themselves struggling with being the public face of their business. So when I started working on those skills, clearing what I needed to clear, building the belief that I actually belong on a stage or on a platform, that I had something valuable to share, I shared a lot of that material as part of my personal branding and my messaging. And that really helped establish me as a trusted resource, right? It also really informed too how I coach people in this space. It's not just about getting on television, but it's about building the confidence, building the belief that you have something valuable to share. So those three things, I'll set a timer for about 5 minutes. And if you're struggling with any of these things, feel free to come off mute. See if you have a question about how to approach the skills assessment. About a minute left. That's time. So would anyone like to come off mute or come off mic and on camera and share what their skills assessment, what that was like?
I can share.
Thank you, Fareed.
When you're asking, are you asking what did I write or how did it feel to do it?
Which one do you want to answer?
Whichever one you asked.
Both are valuable. So let's start with how did it feel to assess the skills this way?
It was actually hard. And I think maybe it's because I find like, am I just writing it too high level? Like, I'm not sure. Like, I know my skills are writing, speaking, and coaching.
Okay.
And like, and then I was like, and this is what I was thinking about, like, am I writing articles, writing blog posts, writing long form, writing short form? Because I'm not good at all of those. I'm a terrible copywriter. I'm an excellent storyteller. So like those are different.
Okay. So I love identifying and getting clear too. You're an excellent storyteller.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes too, especially when you're thinking in terms of the production and all the steps that come into play, I encounter this all the time. People come to me and they're like, oh, I've got this great idea. I want to start a YouTube channel. And then I hear of all the 20, 30, 50 things that they have to do in order to get to the YouTube channel. And then because you have this long list and you're entering into the conversation, the things that you're not good at, now you don't know what actions to take of the things that you're good at.
Right.
So storytelling, I would revise that then. What you're good at is storytelling.
Okay.
And then that can open up then how you interpret the storytelling. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that connects a lot to like the speaking and coaching partly. But the speaking as well, like I said, I'm not a copywriter. I'll use 5,000 words and somebody else will say it in 50. So I'm not which makes, like you were saying, we're in an attention economy and there is an attention recession. And when that soundbite has to be 30 seconds, and I find that I really struggle with that because I find it, like I'm like, I need 3 minutes. I can't do this in 30 seconds. So anyway, it's a different question, but.
So, and I love that you bring this up. So I would even put sound bites if you're willing under the skills that you're willing to learn, because speaking in a 30-second soundbite or a 60-second soundbite, that is a skill. So I do actually have, of course, you're going to hear Tristan put in the discovery call or put in the chat a link to the discovery call. So throughout these next couple of days, you're going to hear about some stuff that we offer. In the spirit of the masterclass, I'm offering this as information. If at any point in time you're like, hey, this sounds like something I want to pursue further, the discovery call is there at your disposal. So don't worry, don't get your guard up. I'm not selling to you. I'm just letting you know that this stuff is available. So learning to speak in 30 to 60 second sound bites is a skill. I do have a 30-day challenge to teach people that. I myself struggle with 30 to 60 sound bites. I'm like you, right? I'm a storyteller and I'm good at telling stories. So in this skills assessment, knowing that storytelling, I'm also a good interviewer. So my digital strategy, my personal brand strategy has shifted towards podcasting and live streams. So I'm still creating large format media. The act of creation is twice a month. I have a long, vibrant, interesting conversation with someone. And then I find 30-second sound bites that popped up naturally through that. So in terms of where I'm directing my creative energy, I'm leaning into the things that I'm good at and the things that I find easy. I'm good at storytelling and I'm good at interviewing people. And then I know that in those nuggets, I can use my producer skills to then pull those 30-second sound bites out. So you're always going to run into a wall of the things you can't do and the things that you struggle. So this is another exercise. I forgot to make a slide for it. So as you're doing the skills assessment, if you're kind of like for reading where it's like, well, the things that I don't do well keep coming up, do one big old brain dump. So on another sheet of paper, create 2 columns for yourself. Like just draw a line through the paper, have 2 columns. One is just the things that you're good at and the things that you enjoy doing. And then the other column is what am I not good at? Under the column that says what I'm not good at, draw a big old X, block it off, cover that space, create a visual for yourself that we're not entertaining. We're not entertaining those skills. Everyone is good at things and they're bad at things. Focus only on what you're good at. Your brand story, your ability to create a sustainable system that you can follow comes from focusing on what you are good at and what you find easy. Ignore what you're not good at. And then there's a workaround too for the skills that you want to learn. Oh, brilliant. Amazing. See what happens when people share. This is why I love the group so much. Does anyone else want to share of their skills assessment, what that felt like?
Yeah, I'll share.
Sure. I thought that your hands were going towards me.
It was difficult. It's kind of hard to talk about the stuff that you're good at because you don't really do that normally. But as far as, what I'm good at, I love creating visual content for people. Yeah. That's something I can think outside of the box when someone wants to represent themselves in a visual format online. And just reflecting back to them the best of who they are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your work literally speaks for itself.
Thank you.
But that's in terms of when you're thinking then now of how do I communicate this personal brand to the best of my ability. So like some ideas that just popped up for me are like, tell me the story, like show me the visual, and then have the caption describe how you created that environment for someone, right? Like guide me through the story that this picture is telling me. People love hearing about the process. And that's another really great way of showing people and not telling them about the work that you do. And you're literally just letting your work speak for itself. And
then I'm pretty much like Farin said, how like I talk too much. Like, so if I'm doing video, I just want to get to the point, end the points, and get off.
So then I think that might be another place where just building the discipline of, because big thinkers, indulge in the big thought, but then figure out ways to then amortize stuff. So there are 2 ways that I create content. So one, of course, is the hot takes, so the live stream conversation, and now the podcast that I'm doing. But even when I was developing and when I myself was teaching myself the skill of being on camera, I would kind of write out, if I had like 5 things to know about, building your on-camera confidence, I would then just in my mind have those 5 things and then just get in the practice of recording each tip as a separate video, but I would do it all in one go. So creatively, it still feels like I am getting this full idea out there, but I'm packaging it in small pieces. Yeah, I think there isn't enough said about how challenging it is to create a 30-second or a 60-second story. There's a reason why advertising, there are so many, like there's the advertising process, what it takes to create an advertisement, a 30-second ad. It's not simple. Like there's a reason why Super Bowl ads are as important and to us as the Super Bowl itself. So, oh my goodness, I realized we're losing time. Okay, I knew I would get carried away with this stuff. So keep going to the skills assessment, right? If you struggled with it, if you also kind of, if the things that you're not good at start coming up into your brain, try that 2-column, that exercise. So in the home plate, just really, really connect with what you're good at, what do you find easy, and what valuable skills are you willing to learn? Use that then to guide how you're going to connect with an audience. So this is the next piece about creating an aligned message that is powerful enough to connect with an audience. So trust me, tomorrow we are doing a deep dive on connecting to an audience, because that is where your brand is either going to soar or become a next level nightmare for you. So the audience agreement is a technique that I've been using for years to teach people how to pitch media. I've even taught like PR companies how to create better media pitches using this idea. Every show has an audience agreement. You might not have recognized this as an audience agreement, but once I describe these things now, you're not going to be able to unsee it. So the good stuff, their audience agreement, home cooking, right? You've got food in your fridge. Mary Berg has a way to cook it for you. So the good stuff is mostly home economics classes positioned as a TV show. The social airs later on in the day, so they fashion themselves as a lively lunch hour conversation with your best girlfriends. So they do deep dives on trending topics, opinions that can be shared and challenged by people at the table. And then breakfast television, or really any morning news show, it's news you can use. So they know the people who are watching that show or who have it on in the background, they're moving through their morning and getting out into the world. So it's daily headlines as well as like what the weather is. Do you need to bring a raincoat or a winter coat? And also traffic, and then just other useful information. So it's a mixed bag of useful information to help you get through your day. The reason why the audience agreement is so powerful is because this is how you start building a relationship. It's the content and format that your audience can expect every time they encounter your brand. So the attention recession, yes, you have seconds to grab their attention, but borrow a page from a TV show. Don't worry so much about reinventing the wheel. If you look at the McEwen Media Instagram page, all of our posts look the same. But you know, and you've encountered those posts often enough that you know that when you see me and someone else on the screen with that teal background and the captioning, you know you're about to hear something truly fascinating and informative about marketing, about sales, about storytelling. It's taken months, I think, to train people to expect that. But that's the power of the audience agreement, right? The Marilyn Denis Show became a hit show when we streamlined. You know to expect certain things from us on Monday, something different on Tuesday, health on Wednesday, home decor on Thursday, fashion on Friday. It's this consistency that builds a relationship and trust and relatability. This is your brand value increasing content over time. Don't worry about the mere seconds you have to leave a lasting impression. When it's a daily output, you have daily opportunities to create and build the relationship and value with the audience. It's not about following trends. If you're following trends, you're shape-shifting too much. It's not about paying attention to what other people are doing. It's about turning inwards. Who are you? What do you know? And what core values are you bringing to your brand? If you only take away one thing from this first lesson, it's the belief that what you are expressing in your business is an expression of who you are, what you have to offer, and your core values. It is a calling. It's not just a business idea. Because again, it's easier to work for someone else. So here are some questions to help you start wrapping your head around your audience agreement. The reason why the audience agreement is going to help you operate from a position of power is we've eliminated the multiple possibilities of the audience that is encountering your content. Every time you show up and speak about your business to someone else, you're going to get one of three reactions. They're either going to connect with what you have to say, they'll disagree with what you have to say, or they'll ignore it because they have no use for it at all. All of those three reactions are happening every single time you share something in your content. But this is about consistent, confident output. It comes from knowing who you are, bringing that to the surface. And this is who you are in the context of your business, right? What do you know? What specialized knowledge? What training? What experience are you bringing to the table? And what are your core values? We'll do a deeper dive tomorrow into why these three things influence consumer decisions. But when it comes to figuring out the person in your brand, these are the three key things. And then once you've identified those, what can your audience expect from you every time they encounter your brand? This is both online and in person. So I'll set the timer for another 5 minutes to give you some time to reflect on this. And just as before, if you're feeling challenges, if you're feeling, some resistance, we'll work through that. I just realized I'm inadvertently demonstrating one of my core principles, which is the perfectly imperfect message is still powerful. I just realized the title of this slide is What is You Audience Agreement? What is your audience agreement? So it still makes sense.
I love it.
Still work.
A great example. That's the kind of thing I do. And I forgot it was one of my values, so perfect.
There's about 40 seconds left. right. And that's time. So would anyone like to come off mute and off camera and talk about what that was like and or what your audience agreement is?
I can start.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Raman.
Hi, Robin.
I am a mortgage advisor virtually in Ontario as well as across Canada. I did come up with some content ideas of what I would share online to try and build a personal brand, but my wheels always get stuck on the content that I want to share. Like on my personal accounts, I can share, funny videos or good, intention posts. But when it comes to my business, I have a really big, I don't know if it's a block where it comes to, I don't know if people want to see the content, so I just don't share it. So my content is mostly what I wanted to post on is like the mortgage side of the business of like my business, but also like the mom side of my business because I have two littles that are constantly, around me. They're under the age of 8. So it's kind of like I can't get rid of them. So they're all here. So I wanted to show both parts of my life. And I've created like a content calendar, but I feel like every time it's the business day to share, I'm just like, oh, people don't want to hear this. So I just don't do it.
Okay. I love that what you brought up, that share is balancing too the personal and the business. Because I think, and this was something that I struggled with as well. Like I also like I came into social media just as an average person, right? So my early understanding of how to create content was like, hey family, here's a trip that I took or something that I made for dinner. Like just connecting with family. That is a completely different vibe and engagement and relationship than when it's your business.
Right.
So this was actually a distinction that I made too. So I actually have two separate accounts. So I do still have the personal account, T McEwen 77. Some people are still like, some people who are interested in McEwen Media are interested. They follow me there too. That's where I do the more personal shares, because there are some things in life where it's like, well, if it's not on Instagram, it's not official. So when my nieces came to visit me on Taylor Swift weekend, just capturing those memories and sharing it. The distinction that I make though is the audience agreement. So think back then to like Marilyn Denis and how she guided creative decisions for Cityline and the Marilyn Denis Show. She thought back to when she was on mat leave, what information does she need from a show like this at that point in time? So start with when people are looking for mortgage advice, what information do they need from you at that point in time? So maybe just start your audience agreement there, knowing that is the information that they're looking for, and then compartmentalize it. So how I compartmentalize like my life and McEwen Media is my agreement is storytelling. So I know that storytelling, especially for businesses, storytelling for business has different stakes. It has a different context and it requires different skills. So I share my storytelling background from my world in media and how I apply it to my business and how I coach other businesses to apply it to them. So that's the distinction that I make. If it's storytelling that I know is going to help businesses that are building their brands right now, that goes into McEwen Media. Everything else goes into the personal life. And it's just knowing that there are two different groups. I've also gone one step further too, where the personal one, it's a private account, right? So people need to be approved, whereas the other one is public. So just for me, having those two separate accounts in my mind helps distinguish this is for this audience and this is for that audience. So the audience agreement and like, what can people expect from me? What do I want to offer?
Right.
Is a great way to kind of make those creative decisions.
Got
that help?
Okay. That helps. Thank you.
Awesome. Amazing. And as a mortgage advisor, everyone needs your information all the time right now. It's really hard to make these decisions and choices. We'll get into, so Raman, you'll actually get a lot of benefit out of tomorrow, because tomorrow actually is about making like content and story choices strategically for the business. One thing I'll give you a bit of a teaser. It is about, I know as businesses, we want to talk about like we solve a specific problem. What problem are you solving? right? Hold on to the problem that you're solving. I don't follow avatars. Anyone is available to work with me. And every time I created an avatar, it was always me. So it never really made sense. But there's a transformation, right? There is a challenge that people who are interested in my content that they're dealing with, and I can offer information there. So even when I share in stories, like someone else's inspirational messaging around, confidence and showing up, I'll still share that because it's aligned with one of my values, right? The value of taking up space and building the belief that you deserve to have space.
I did also create a YouTube channel that I had personal, like from before, and because I already had a couple of followers, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep this account and just started posting, mortgage related stuff on there, like information videos. But I guess I could use 30 to 60-second snippets from there to that. And then what do you think of sharing, like tagging my personal account to the business one so that I can share stories for even people on my personal account to see the video so that if they do want to follow the business one, they can. Like a kind of interlock there.
I mean, the audience that is looking for your content will find it. That's the approach that I have. So for me, having the personal and the business account is more eliminating and helping me make creative decisions faster. It's not necessarily about being found. Like, as I said earlier, like there are people who follow both. I'm like, I don't know what you're getting following both. But, and also what I create the most is from McEwen Media. So that's the one that I also feel has the most value on a public stage. What I make for dinner doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of value. Like it was just kind of a thing to have a presence. So I would focus actually just on creating content, filling that space. What information do people need from you right now in making mortgage decisions and making mortgage choices? Like, you're one of the few industries where the recession is working in your favor because people need you more than ever.
Somewhat, hopefully. I mean, I still feel like, there's still downfalls where I'm kind of like struggling, but I also want to stand out as the advisor that isn't like all the other advisors in the industry. So I'm kind of tailoring my messaging around that. So, but I always get stuck on, do people really care about this? So, and then I stop the sharing.
Okay. So then, I want you to create a sign. Do people care? Yes.
I'll do that.
This is where then the values part of the audience agreement is going to really help you, because there are tons of mortgage advisors out there. There are tons of mortgage advisors who are sharing information. Your values are going to help you stand out from the rest. And what we'll get into tomorrow as well is your values are a key piece of information for people to decide to work with you.
Yes.
Because they're entering a relationship, right? Remember back to the course at the beginning of this masterclass, the course I almost signed up for, and then,
she died.
Peace. I was interested in learning from her. That was part of the disappointment, right? So that's the personal part of your personal brand. They're developing a relationship with you. So out of all the mortgage advisors, why am I picking you? Well, I'm picking you for the vibe check, right? I want to make sure that I'm going to enjoy spending time with you, right? We're aligned values. So identify and especially the values that you're bringing to the business to help them refine your special sauce, your secret sauce.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much. That's helpful.
Okay, so we're out of time. I knew I would go over. So between today and tomorrow, keep working on the home play. I'll send the recording as well if you ever want to go through this material. Tomorrow, we're going to put all of this stuff into action. So these exercises are about creating a solid foundation for you. Tomorrow is a little bit more strategy, but also there's a lot more understanding of connecting with an audience, creating content that connects and keeps people around. That is what television is. So that is the core storytelling transferable skill to help you with this. I'll also share, if you're interested, if I go over some extra time, information on how you can get ongoing support in this, because there's a lot of theory that I'm throwing at you. If you're good to go on your own, then congratulations. Well done. But if you need some more support and guidance and insight, I'm going to share 2 ways at 2 very different price points how you can get ongoing support with McEwen Media. Okay. All right. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.